Today we're going to talk about 10 sleeper cars that cost less than £5,000. But before we do, hit the like button if you want to see this video again at under £10,000 instead. 1,000 likes and I'll make that video. And 77% of people watching right now are not subscribed. If that applies to you, then do hit subscribe for 2 videos every single week. And without further ado, let's get straight into it. The Ford Mondeo ST220, for those in the know, is a lovely classic fast Ford, but for the average person they're seeing nothing but a Ford saloon, especially because the ST badge hadn't truly been cemented in the Ford lineup at the time of its release, so it's not as aggressive on the exterior as say a Ford Focus ST might be. This fast Mondeo comes with a 3-litre V6 block which puts out 222 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 7.4 seconds, so yes, the slowest car on the list, but not bad at all for the age and price. It followed on from the previous ST200, which is already well on its way to becoming a well-loved classic, and I reckon the ST220 has similar future classic potential, so if you're in the market for one, try to get one with a more desirable spec. Blue with the original alloys is a good place to start. They're listed anywhere from around £2,000, with 5k being enough for a 2004 model with around 80,000 miles on the clock. Rear shocks are known to leak, as are power steering pumps, and early models are known to rust around the doors. I remember being on the Autobahn in Germany years ago, cruising along at a reasonable pace and getting absolutely violated by one of these in the outside lane, the Vauxhall Zafira VXR. Literally a compact family MPV that got the VXR treatment to make it way quicker than you would expect. This super MPV comes with a 2-litre turbocharged inline-4 engine which makes 236 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 7.2 seconds, and that engine is shared with the one you'll find in the Astra VXR2. Recaro race seats, large gripped steering wheel which offers direct access to the steering rack for sharper turning, suspension tuned for B roads. It really isn't the formula you'd expect of an MPV at all. I think it looks great too, although not as aggressive as some of the other cars in the VXR lineup, which helps to be a bit more sleeperish, and though the interior is a bit old, they did come with a nice little sat-nav screen on the dashboard, which isn't bad for its age. They'll run you around 3k at the bottom end now, and they're pretty hard to come by regardless. They're genuinely also pretty reliable too, which helps. Volvo have a long and rich history of making sleeper cars, particularly estates, so it's only fitting that we get the Volvo V70 into this video, which is probably the most practical car on the list, as well as the one that is the best sounding, all thanks to its turbocharged 2.3-litre inline-5 engine, which makes 250 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 6.9 seconds, not bad for a full-size family wagon. The dream car to own in the V70 lineup is of course the R, which had more power and performance, getting to 60 about a second faster, but sadly that extra second will cost you almost triple the price of this, and to be honest, it's less of a sleeper with its more aggressive stylings. This V70 genuinely is an executive estate, and yet it still has decent pace and sound. These start at around 3k, and like the Vauxhall, they are quite hard to find within our price range, but they're not typically much more expensive. The fluids were supposed to be for life, but still do need to be changed for reliable transmission. Outside of that, many owners have had trouble free driving. Everyone knows Imprezas are fast, and anything with a WRX or STI badge on it is of course also going to be rapid, but the Subaru Legacy R spec.B is a proper sleeper saloon or estate that doesn't hold any of those badges, doesn't look too shouty, but actually has decent performance for the money and aesthetics. That's in part thanks to its 3-litre Boxer 6 engine, which makes 241 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 6.8 seconds, helped of course by the fact that it's all-wheel drive. Whether you go saloon or estate, you're getting a car that has a pretty decent aftermarket, as it was quite popular within the JDM community. So if you want to make it less of a sleeper, you'll quite easily get some nice exterior mods, but if you want to make it more performant, you can similarly get a lot of handling related mods for not too much cash, though it did already come with Bilstein suspension. These are listed anywhere from around £2,700, and 5k will get you into a high mileage 2009 example. There are known catastrophic issues, mostly coolant related engine failures. The Chrysler 300C isn't a car that you see often out on the roads in the UK, even though it was super popular here on release as the poor man's Bentley. So for that reason, it's hard to necessarily call it a true sleeper, but at the same time it always baffles me that for sub 5k you can get yourself into a pretty standard looking saloon that has a Hemi V8 in it. That Hemi is a 5.7-litre V8 to be exact, which makes 340 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 6.8 seconds, matching the legacy and following the rule of Americans making massive engines with lower than expected power output. My wife actually mistook one of these for something more expensive recently thanks to the larger grille and more stately aesthetics, but again she saw it as a luxury car, not a fast one. You can of course go more aggressive with the SRT8, and I'd still say that's pretty sleeperish, but it's a bit more expensive. These start at around $4,500, and 5k will get you a 2007 example with 70,000 miles on the clock, so they are known for some build quality failures. So I hope you guys are enjoying enjoying this video. If you are, then do hit the like button and subscribe as well if you're new. As I said, 1,000 likes, same video comes out at under 10k instead. And let me know in the comments down below, what is the best brand for bringing out sleeper cars? The S-Type R is a properly cool and fast car for the money, but sadly it sits a bit outside of our 5k limit. What doesn't is the base level V8 S-Type, which has these stylings that of course hark back to the original Jaguar S-Type, but all in, looks like a bit of an old Jag. So the fact that it comes with a 4-litre V8 is pretty cool, which puts out 281 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 6.6 seconds, about 1.3 seconds slower than the S-Type R. This car was meant to compete with the 5 Series and equivalents as a larger car to the X-Type. Similar to the 300C, it has a pretty stately vibe both outside and in, and was even named the spiritual successor to the well-loved Mark II, but it's definitely had its time now and looks quite dated instead, helping with that sleeper status. These are listed anywhere from around £1,000, making it the cheapest car on the list, and 5k gets you 2004 model with high mileage. Suspension issues and build quality problems appear to be the most common, and suspension components can be quite expensive. What would this list be without a BMW 3 Series Touring, which can come with a bunch of different engine options, meaning you could get something pretty slow and sedate, or in this case you go for the E91 330D, which genuinely has very decent reliability compared to other E90 engines and can be made faster with a stage 1 remap. As standard though, these come with a 3-litre turbocharged inline-6 diesel block, which makes 241 brake horsepower, taking them to 60 in 6 seconds, which is plenty quick enough for an estate. This remains one of my favourite looking 3 Series generations, particularly in coupe and convertible spec, but that estate isn't bad looking either, if a bit unassuming. It's got plenty of practicality, competing with the V70 on this list for boot space and fuel economy thanks to it being a diesel, and if I was intelligent I'd have one myself as a new golfer, as it's the perfect car to take out for a round, but remains pretty rapid. They'll run you around 2k at the bottom end, and 5k will get you a 2006 model with 90,000 miles on the clock. On to the top 3 now, and in third we have a channel favourite, a jack of all trades if you will, the Lexus GS450H, an executive luxury focused saloon that also has decent fuel economy thanks to it being a hybrid, and decent speed thanks to the V6 engine it's attached to. That full powertrain is a 3.5 litre V6 to be exact, with the electric power combining to put out 341 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 5.7 seconds in a car that doesn't look quick at all really. What's amazing about this is that even though it doesn't look massively assuming, the concept car version was absolutely stunning and could literally be released today and not look out of place. However, that LFS concept isn't very sleeperish, where this GS is, with a nice comfortable interior that's pretty well equipped for its age with stuff like heated and aerated seats. These start at around £2,500, and double that will get you into a 2009 model with 80,000 miles on it. They're pretty reliable too, being Toyotas, but if you have to have a battery replacement it can be quite expensive. Taking second on the list is probably the most telltale sleeper of them all thanks to its badge, but the Audi S4 Avant is still categorically a family estate with relatively basic looks, especially compared to the RS4 equivalents for example. This is the B6 S4 to be exact, which is the third S4 to hit the roads and the one that had the shortest overall run, hitting the roads in 2003 and being swapped out in 2005. It came with a nice 4.2 litre V8 engine which makes 339 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 5.4 seconds, again helped by it being a quattro. This also came as a convertible and saloon, and in all 3 specs it does look pretty nice, but not that aggressive outside of the twin exit exhaust and slightly wider wheel arches. Interior wise, they got a similar upgrade over the standard A4 with the Recaro sports seats and liberal use of the S4 logo. These start at around £3,000, and 5k will get you into a high mileage 2003 model. Chain tensioners are the key problem on these, which are super hard to get to and replace when they start to break up. Taking the top spot, we have another German family estate or saloon, just this time with a Mercedes badge attached and the most powerful engine on the list, the Mercedes E500 from the 3rd generation or W211 E-Class. There were some more aggressive versions of this car like the E55 AMG and later on the E63 AMG, but the E500 flies below the radar in comparison, lacking the aggressive looks of an AMG in favour of something more classy and more sedate. It still gets a big engine though, a 5.5 litre V8 producing 381 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 5 seconds, which is actually very fast for a car of its age and purpose. There wasn't an E600 model to contend with, so the E500 is about as big an engine as you can get without going for an AMG model, and as an executive car they do come with a nice old school Mercedes interior, which I think is starting to look cool, where a few years ago I would have simply called them dated. £2,500 is enough to get into one, and double that will get you into a high mileage 2004 model. And so there you have it, 10 sleeper cars that you can buy for under £5,000. I hope you enjoyed. Do hit like if you haven't already, and subscribe as well if you're new. Huge thanks to the patrons for their support, and to you guys as well for watching. And I mentioned that S4. If you want to see a video on the RS4, then click on screen right here.